Video 16, Division, Bus Stop Method.
Okay, right, we're going to show you the bus stop method today. Now this is a great way of working out division calculations if we know the times table for what we're dividing by. So here we've got 565 divided by 5, and I'm pretty confident with my 5 times table. Division and multiplication are linked quite a bit, and we use times tables to help work out our division when we're sharing our word answers out. So I'm going to write this in our bus stop method. We call it a bus stop because it looks a little bit like an old-fashioned bus stop. So here we have 565, and we're dividing it by this number here, in which case this is 5. So if we're thinking about it in base 10 terms, I have 5 here, that's what I'm dividing by, and here I'm dividing by 565. So, first things first, we're going to look at these individually as individual digits. So here I'm looking in my 500s column, so how many 5s come into 5? So here I have 1, so I can, all of these will grouped into one section. So I'm going to put 1 up here. It looks a little bit like 5 divided by 5 equals 1. And we kind of think of it like that, but really the maths behind it is there's one lot of 500. We've got nothing to carry over. So we're looking here into our tens column. So 5 divided by 6, we have one group here. So I can put my 1, and I've got 1 left over, and I have to carry that over to my column. And if I draw this, so this here is going to move over to this column. So now I've got my 110 and my 5 units, creating 15 up here. How many times does 5 go into 15? And again, I can think of my 5 times table, so I can go one group of 15, which is half of 10, 2 groups of 10, and then my 5 units together, making 3 groups in total. I've just realised I've written these in the wrong numbers. Colours. There we go. So here, when we can look at the links, if I know my times tables quite well, I know 5 times 3 equals 15. It's a good way of checking. I've got nothing left over, so I have no remainders. Okay, let's have a look at a little bit of a harder calculation. Here I've got 871 divided by 5. We'll stick with our 5 because we know our 5 times tables quite well. So here I've drawn it out in our base 10. So again, we're grouping these into 5s. So here I've got my one group of 5. And then I can't have any more because I've got 3 left over. So that's my one group. I'm going to put that up there. And then I've got my 3. Okay, so here, as I've just said, that this is 370. But actually, we can also think of it as 37 tens. So now I know my 5 times table, and I'm going to see how many times does 5 fit into this 37 tens. So I can do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. And then I can't go any further because if I go to 40, it's going to be too big and I can't go past the number that I've got, and I've got 37. So actually that's 7. So let me put 7 up here. And I have 2 left over. If I'm going to draw that out with our base 10, we know these are 10 tens, and then these obviously represent 10. So one of these is the same as 10 of these. We have 10 of these in this section here. So that's one group of 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Same as up here. Again, we don't need to use this if we can use our times tables to work that out. But we do have our 2 left over and our 2 remaining, which we need to move over into our other column. Same way as we did it here, we've now got 21 in our units column. And we can do the same thing with our 5 times table. How many times does 5 go into 21? 5, 10, 15, 20. Can't go any further because it'd be too big. So that's 4. And we have a remainder this time with 1. Again, if we're looking at this, this is our units, our 1 unit. It's made of 10 of these, so if I'm grouping them into 5s, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got 1 left over, which is my remainder there. Okay, so as I've said, we have 174 remainder 1. Now, this remainder here is actually a fraction. I can write it as a decimal number because we know decimals and fractions are quite linked, but I can't just put a decimal point there and say 0.1 because that's not right. It doesn't work like that. This is actually 1/5 of this number. So I'm going to show you how to work this out if you wanted it in a decimal form, not as a remainder. We set it out exactly the same way. And you know what, just for ease, I'm going to rub that off just so we don't get confused. Not going to draw out the base 10 this time, we're just going to think of it through our times tables. And this way works exactly the same point. So we've got, how many times does 5 go into our 800? Well, it goes in once, and we have 2 left over. No, we don't. We have 3 left over. And then into 37, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So it goes in 7 times, without 2 left over. And then how many times into 21? 5, 10, 15, 20. So it goes in 4 times with our 1 left over. Now normally we wrote it up here, but actually we're going to think, we know this is a units column, and we know that before that, if we want talking about less than a unit, we can use our decimal place, and then we can talk about our tenths column, and we could even talk about a hundredths column if we wanted to. So I'm going to put them both in there. Okay, so these are placeholders for our tenth and our hundredths column. So going back, we said we had 4 up here and we had 1 left over. So I'm going to carry that over exactly the same way as I've just been carrying over all the others. Really important to make sure that our decimal place is in line, same way as it works any other way. And then I can do this in the same part. So how many times does 5 go into 10? 5, 10, twice, with nothing left over. So if I am going, I could actually stop there and have 174.2. So this is now as a decimal 0.2. If we took this on its own, it would actually be a 0.2. That is actually 1/5, which is the same as 1/5 as that. Okay, it's time for you to have a go. We have 2 calculations here. We have 120 divided by 5, and we have 738 divided by 5. And we put our equal sign, which is the same as, so we have 120 divided by 5, it's the same as your time to fill in the gap. I'm going to pause the video now for you to have a go at these calculations, and then we'll show you how to work them. Okay, right, let's take this, 120 divided by 5. So, I'm going to draw our bus stop out. So how many times does 5 go into 120? And I'm not going to use the base 10 method, we're just going to look at it using our times tables and think of it like that. So how many times does 5 go into 1? Well actually I can't even do 1 because straight away it's too big, because 1 times 5 is 5. So I'm going to have to put a 0 up there, and then I'm going to carry all of it over because I haven't used any of it. So that goes straight to here. So now I have 12, or actually 120, because don't forget we've carried this over into the tens column. So how many times does 5 come into here, into 12? 5, 10, twice. Can't go any further. And then I have 2 left over, which goes into here. And then we're going to do our units column, 5, 10, 15, 20. Which gives me an answer of 24. No remainders left over, because 5 times 4 is 20, it's all together, we haven't got anything left. Okay, now over to 738 divided by 5 again, I'm going to write it out. 738. Draw it. How many times does 5 go into 7? 5. Can't go any further, so that's going to be 1, and I've got 2 left over. How many times does 5 go into 23? 5, 10, 15, 20, 4 times, and then I have 3 left over. And then how many times does 5 go into 38? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Can't go any further. So I'm going to put my 7 up here, and then 35, 36, 37, 38. So this is my remainder. So I could either do remainder 3, if that is what the question is asking me, to show a remainder, or if it's showing a decimal, whoops, I could write it out like this. 5 into 7 goes once with 2 left over. 5 and 23, exactly the same as up here. 5, 10, 15, 20. And then 3 left over. And here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, which is 7. I have my 3, but this time I'm going to add my decimal place. Has to be up there as well, on exactly the right line. I'm going to create 2 placeholders for my 10th and my 100th. And then my 3, my remainder 3, this time is coming down here. So again, how many times does 5 go into 30? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 6 times with nothing left over. So actually, don't need to do that. So 147.6 or 147 remainder 3. I'm going to write this because I prefer decimals. So 147.6. That's my answer. Okay, let's add this bus stop knowledge that we've just learnt to our number mind map. So I'm going to write it over here, as this is our division section. So, we looked at the bus stop. Whoops. And we know the bus stop looks like that. We also said that we could do it kind of in 2 ways if we had a remainder. We could either do it like that with a remainder, or we're going to use our decimal place if we're going to be looking at decimals or using decimals. And we also have quite a bit of linking to do here. Now here, this is quite an entertaining one. We're using our times tables and we've got to link that to our division. We use it quite a lot. I'm going to be using it quite a lot as we go along, so I'm going to draw it all the way around here.